And look, the first point of value is really just one of speed and efficiency. If the data isn't accessible, if the systems don't connect, if the workflows are hard, then you're just not going to be able to really work efficiently. And not only is the quality of the work going to be lower, but of course the speed and the outcomes will be, or the output rather, will be at a much slower pace as well. I'm excited today to have our guest Ron Smith on our podcast today. Ron is CTO of Beyond Finance. Ron, thanks for joining us. Do you mind telling our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I've been in fintech about 10 or so years, maybe 11 now. I've been at Beyond Finance about 2.5 years, CTO here. And, we've been on like a hyper growth phase and, happy to have Simon along for the ride.
Great. Well, Ron, it's a pleasure to have you. And before we started recording today, we were just talking about so the relationship and the work we've been doing with you guys as a customer over the last couple of years, and part of that was just really just talking and digging into the journey that you guys have taken, both before working with our platform with the CDP, and then after you guys are now working with us. And getting into our big question today, it's really one of sort of a central theme to many of our technologists and CTOs who may be listening, or certainly relevant to anyone in a marketing function who's supported by their engineering counterparts. And that's fundamentally around marketing workflows. Ultimately, the goal of SaaS, and the goal of any production application is to enable business stakeholders to be self-sufficient. And the challenge with many applications today is, if you're in a place where what should be business as usual, what should be a 1 or 2 hour operation, requires going back and forth with engineering to affect getting the right data or getting the right technical support, then it's very hard to get things done. So our big question today really gets to the teeth of the matter around how do you empower marketing operations as an engineering leader, as an engineering operator, to really enable marketing and business stakeholders more broadly to be self-sufficient and really empowered. So with that, Ron, maybe we can sort of start off a bit about Beyond Finance specifically, and sort of what your considerations were, what the challenges were, and just set some of the landscape a little bit.
Yeah, so when I first kind of stepped into the role here, took a look at our landscape, and we had a lot of different tools. I think marketing technologies in general, a lot of them support just being tacked on to your existing data, and they're kind of outside of the application ecosystem built by your internal teams. And so I wanted to switch that dynamic a bit. I think Simon Data supports being tacked on as well, but I said, let's just take a step back and look at what we're trying to do. And there's various tools in place for SMS, for email, for push notifications. And I kind of looked at each touch point and said, what are we doing here? Are we trying to optimize content? Are we trying to optimize different communication channel? Turns out we were trying to do lots of things in lots of different ways, and we were hitting different roadblocks along the way. So, part of what we did early on was we consolidated all of that and said, here's an actual need we have. We want to be able to A/B test content and channel, and none of the platforms really did that well. There was one tool kind of for each communication channel. So the marketing department was turning off one thing and turning on another, and there was just a lot of ad hoc requirements. So, go send an email at a different touch point. And so as those started coming in, I started asking, could this be a text message later? Could it be multiple channels later? And, the answer is usually yes. People want to be able to experiment. They didn't even know it was possible. And so, it's kind of just bringing it all together. And that started our journey on finding someone like Simon to help us support this orchestration, because, we could build it all internally, and we had before, and we had some vendors in the mix. I just said, this is not for us. We're not an A/B testing company. We're not a communication company. Let us focus on what differentiates us in the market and use a platform to help us with the orchestration layer. So, early on, there was a little bit of tension because, it takes time to build out this infrastructure to support this. But once it's done, they can see the value of iteration. So they got back to a point where they didn't have to involve product and tech, but they can do it in one place with one tool, very clean data to analyze. You're not trying to stitch together a journey across tools. Just has centralized everything and really set us up for success.
Great. No, that's super helpful. And maybe we can spend a few minutes talking about some of the infrastructure investments that you and your team have put in place to support our platform and ostensibly for other applications outside of what we do as a CDP. Ultimately, to your point, we obviously agree around thinking about the problems that are unique to the business. And when we sort of look at some of the data assets that are certainly bespoke to Beyond Finance and every one of our other customers as well, these are things that, when we sort of look and have conversations with folks like yourself, really encourage folks to make deep investments around. So maybe you can talk about both data investments and broader sort of technology investments related to data and where you are today and sort of where you're pushing that.
Yeah, so I think, the world we were coming from, like I said, it was very ad hoc. So it was send an email when something happens. And we really had to kind of combine everything together and say, what are the attributes we care about our clients or our customers? And, you can do that within Simon, but you can also do it outside of Simon. And so we kind of have a mix today where we use Snowflake for our data warehouse, and Simon supports sharing data via what Snowflake calls a Snowflake share. And so you kind of get direct access across platform. And so we rolled up all the data attributes we needed in there. And then from, each conversation of a new touch point becomes, is this a time-based daily interaction that we want with our clients? And that can just use the warehouse share. Or is this a real-time event where we need to send something out? And we would build in a real-time event. So it kind of supports everything for both the needs. But in order to get out of the ad hoc mindset, we had to actively say, what is the outcome you're expecting from this communication? Which I don't think was asked in too much detail before, or at least wasn't thought of from an application standpoint. So not only do you have the triggering event, you also have the success event. And the success event could be in either of those ways as well. Could be in the Snowflake share, or it could be a real-time event. And then once you have that thought process, you can then kind of stitch together different communication strategies into like an overall journey. So you can stop and start journeys at various points based on the outcome you're looking for.
That makes a ton of sense. And I'm not sure if you guys are using some of our Snowflake sharing capabilities on the other side. A big part of what we do with many of our customers is, as that journey and as the messaging communication moves forward, we record everything that happens across the board from a channel engagement perspective into everything across experimentation metadata and campaign metadata to be made available back into that Snowflake share as well. Is this something that you guys are using today? We
are, yes. And we have very strong data, BI, and analytics departments there. They just are living in that data all day long.
That's great to hear. And I think when we sort of look at our platform and sort of part of the broader ecosystem opportunity, it's Ron, I think it's really all about building in a way that really just extends your data investments. Building an application that can very seamlessly and easily integrate with a lot of these core data elements that you described. And then on the backside, really just look at the broader data ecosystem and ask, how do we affect a degree of continuity such that for marketing stakeholders who are doing their jobs and creating campaigns and creating journeys, they can be self-sufficient. But as your team and your BI resources and analytical resources want to go a click deeper, they can have all that information. And if your data science team, you're either today or down the road, wants to build some machine learning models or some predictive capabilities, off of data that you might be storing centrally from across the business, plus data that is a result of campaign efficiency, that can all be made available in a centralized place to make that training process that much more easy.
Yeah, and we have data from dozens of sources, and it keeps it very clean and very concise and very understandable what's going on in these journeys. That's great. And in a previous life, I ran a data function. And I always sort of joke, the worst nightmare of any data analyst is reconciliation. As long as sort of your SaaS applications live in a world where data comes from a different place, your core data infrastructure, reconciliation is always sort of a thorn on your side. And in an idealized world, a BI function should be a sort of a fluid stakeholder to your business counterparts.
The business counterparts with their tools will be focused on sort of like an 80-20 level reporting where stuff which is required to understand what's going on a daily basis is accessible and self-serve. But that long tail of what actually happened here, did this really have lift? Help me dig, and really understand why this worked and why it didn't. Can then be sort of fluidly supported by BI or analyst resources. But if the data isn't consistent, then that first layer of actually just resolving two views of the same business, can actually account for the majority of the time taken to support. But in a world where the data actually can be shared from the same place, and you actually do have a real and definable single source of truth, that really removes that entire first step of complexity and allows value creation to actually focus on where the hard problems lie.
Yeah, and we had a similar journey internally with different data sources where you didn't have the single source of truth, and we had gaps. But we've since closed all those at the same time we're building out Simon. So it all kind of married in the end that all of the rest of our data is clean and centralized, and Simon pulls in data for everything else new that we're doing, and it's just all in one happy place now. It's great.
Got it. That's great to hear. So Ron, maybe we can talk a bit about what's next for you guys. I know that you guys have some initiatives around A/B testing and some other exciting things, but when you sort of look to further support your marketing team and our platform and all the engineering work and the data work that goes into it, what's sort of next on your roadmap and what excites you?
Yeah, so for me, it's really about just kind of hitting the gas pedal on the optimization. So, we built out a lot of the foundational events and structure. And like I said, we're trying to pull marketing closer to the engineering so they're not working in a silo. So we've done that, over the last 6 months, 9 months. And we've hit kind of the easy street where, the stuff we built early on, nobody's revisited it. It's off optimizing on its own. And I think we're nearing the end of kind of our core events. And so we'll probably stop building and we'll just go into the kind of channel optimization, content optimization, which really is the power of Simon. And so people are starting to see those benefits now of, oh, we can do all these things and we're empowered to do it. And I think giving empowerment to the marketing operations folks is kind of the key underlying point here. That was our goal early on. Like, hey, if you want to change content in email, that doesn't go into a sprint or a queue. It doesn't need to be prioritized. Just go do it, right? So like kind of get it out of our way on the things that we don't need to control as far as like the platform goes. So you're really looking forward to that, seeing just the benefits of everything we've built out.
Got it. Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And when I sort of look at like in general Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I think your sort of journey is sort of emblematic in look like the first point of value is really just one of speed and efficiency. If the data isn't accessible, if the systems don't connect, if the workflows are hard, then you're just not going to be able to really work efficiently. And not only is the quality of the work going to be lower, but of course the speed and the outcomes will be, or the output rather, will be at a much slower pace as well. Sort of looking ahead, what really excites me about so the journey that we're on and the journey that we're on with you together, and of course from our perspective as a product, is really thinking about some of these optimization opportunities and really asking how do you combine some of the value around speed, because agile methodologies alone can result in better means of understanding the business and the customers, and then overlay that best practices around A/B testing and optimization and beyond. So it's really great to hear. And then within optimization opportunities, Ron, maybe you can talk a bit more about some of your data science and machine learning strategies and what you're hoping to affect as part of your broader optimization goals.
Yeah, I think we've identified 3 to 5 to 7 like key metrics that have moved the needle for us in the past and that we want to continue to optimize. And so I know we talked to you guys recently about a feature that you've rolled out or are rolling out to others with predictive segmentation. So I think that's going to be a big focus for us on how do we leverage that to just accelerate it. The traditional getting to statistical significance can take quite a long time, where if you have the predictive segmentation, you can start leaning towards that winner a little bit earlier and see the value even earlier. So, really looking forward to working on that this year.
Got it. No, that's great. And I think more broadly, a big point of focus of ours is bringing in sort of the best of breed, machine learning and third-party data opportunities to really just make the best of the workflow and the data capabilities of our platform. We also launched a new identity product that actually partners with a very savvy provider for content that does brings third-party device graphs and some very smart machine learning to do all sorts of intelligent ways of building out richer profiles and understanding customers and their identities. So very excited to collaborate with you on that, Ron, and the team. And we're sort of at the top of our time here today. But first, I just want to thank you for coming onto the podcast and sharing your wisdom with us. And when I really sort of reflect on our conversation today, it's all about ultimately comes down to people. How do you really make sure that the teams you have in place and your organizational structures and the strengths that you have overlaid with where the business should be investing can all come together and collaborate in an effective way. But really, when I look at some of the challenges that so many organizations face, if you don't have the right technology components in place to actually affect that, then responsibilities and workflows across teams can really just become troubled, slow, and expensive. So Ron, it was really sort of great to hear your approach around the problems that you had before working with our platform, and how you're thinking about continued support, on the data side, integration side, and optimization side, which is certainly material support. But to your point, it stems back to things that Beyond Finance as a business needs to own and be great at, and the things that are really sort of represent sort of the bespoke nature of what you do. So. With that, Ron, for anyone who's listening who might want to learn a bit more about Beyond Finance, how can they learn about the service and talk to someone or potentially sign up?
Yeah, so we have a website, beyondfinance.com. It's both a marketing and a servicing website, so you can look there for more information. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, directly. It may be hard to find a Smith sometimes, but just add in the company name there and you should be able to find me. Happy to chat about technology, culture, MarTech, anything.
Great. And thank you to everyone listening to this episode of the Data Unlocked podcast. And if you'd like to learn more about Simon Data, please visit us on the web at simondata.com or email us at hello@simondata.com.